Oh, this is thick. See that? Oh. Have something spicy to make you feel refreshed. Korean way. It's very spicy though. Ah, okay, that's too much. That's too much spice. 안녕하세요 from Korea. Welcome to Next Smart Chip. Today we're making Kongguksu. Kongguksu is a cold noodle dish served in Korea often during the summer months because it's hot, and you make this dish, it makes sort of like a cold icy milk that goes over the top of the noodles. It's so tasty and very refreshing. For today's Kongguksu, I'll show you how to make it in two different ways. The first way will be very traditional using these. These are soybeans. These are the Kong in Kongguksu. Using the soybeans, it does take a little bit longer because you have to prepare them in order to get them ready to be turned into essentially soybean milk. But I'm going to do the second way, a much quicker way. And for that, we need this, or, well, it's this. Sundubu. Sundubu is very soft tofu. Let's see how it turns out when I use this type of tofu compared to the traditional method and compared to using just a normal regular tofu block. Let's begin and I'll show you how to make it. One of the optional ingredients you might notice here is the peanut butter. You don't have to add peanut butter, but I highly recommend it. It really adds a lot of flavor to the dish. To get started on our traditional kongguksu, which I'm also going to add peanut butter to, you need to soak the soybeans in water overnight, or at least for about 8 hours. It allows to suck up the water and you'll get a better consistency when you grind them down. So you see I did it there, and you can see what the beans look like. Now get rid of that water, it's sort of a little bit dirty, you don't want to use that. And then with 400 mils or maybe 500 mils of new water, we're going to cook the beans for about 15 minutes. Also, if you see any sort of black or dirtier beans, you might want to take those out now. Just check to see if there's any that, a bit discolored ones. So that's going to go for 15 minutes, and while it does that, we're going to prepare the other ingredients. And first are our sesame seeds. I like to grind it down a little bit, just so that I'm ensuring that when I put it in the blender later, it's going to have a better consistency. Sometimes the blender doesn't quite grind down the sesame seeds properly. We need our garnish, which we're going to use cucumber. You can slice up the tomatoes a bit later. It's pretty easy to slice those up. For your cucumber, you want it sort of matchstick sized, roughly. And you'll place that on top. I've got a lot of cucumber there. About a quarter of a cucumber is all you need. I think I have about half a cucumber. You don't need that much. The beans are ready, so let's get that water out. We want to keep about 100 mils of the water though. We're going to put that in the blender later. So there we go. Grab 100 mils of that water and put it to the side for later. Then strain the beans, so we make sure that we're only getting the beans and not all that extra water. They should be nice and soft now after cooking. You're welcome to cook them for a little bit longer, maybe 5 minutes longer if you want a better consistency, but 15 minutes to 20 minutes should be fine. You can put them in the blender. Don't worry if they're still a little bit warm. After blending, we're going to put it in the refrigerator later anyway. There's our sesame seed that we've ground up, and we'll add in our peanut butter. Now, it's not the most traditional ingredient, but I love the flavor. I always add peanut butter when I'm using the tofu version. So I thought, why not? We'll put some in this today as well. And a little bit of salt. For this dish, you can always add salt later. And it's always important after you've mixed it up to have a taste and then season accordingly. And of course, don't forget some more water. So 600 mils of water should be fine. If you do put too much water in, it's going to be too runny. And if you put not enough, it'll be too chunky. So you really want to get that right consistency, and it should look like that. That's about perfect. You'll notice it is a slight off sort of white color, and that's because of the peanut butter. If you skip the peanut butter, you'll have a much whiter sort of color to it. And I tasted it, and I don't need to add any more salt or anything. It's absolutely perfect. And then place it in the refrigerator. Now let's get our noodles. For these noodles, I have 3 different colors. Normally you'd use white noodles, but I've got some leftover noodles to use, and I think they'll look really pretty with all 3 different colors. Give these a good mix, and as usual for these noodles, you're going to cook them for about 3 to 4 minutes. It really isn't that long. Once the noodles are done, make sure you take them out, and then you'll put them in some cold water to rinse and of course scrub off the starch. So get those out. And I've prepared some cold water in advance to put them in, but you can do it in the sink. It is a little bit easier in the sink, but you're welcome to do it like this as well. One of the key things though is get your hands in there and make sure you scrub them by rubbing them against each other. That makes sure all the starch gets off it. With noodles like this, when you're having cold noodle dishes, there's a lot of starch on it, then what will happen, it'll be a big clump. So when you're trying to eat the noodles out of the bowl later on, they won't sort of fall apart. Like look at these, they're sort of falling apart and they're not stuck to each other that much. So that's about perfect. For plating this dish, how you do it is up to you. You could put the noodles in after putting the soup in, but if you're going to put the soup in second, then I recommend covering it. You don't want a sort of ugly looking dish with these splashes of white all over your noodles. It does look good like this. That's why I use the ladle. In addition, a lot of people like to have an egg with theirs. I'm not the biggest fan of egg, though honestly the main reason was I didn't have any boiled egg available, and I wasn't going to boil egg just for this. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of egg, so boiling up an egg just to put it on top for the garnish, I'm going to skip that step for me. But feel free to add one if you like egg, and if you have some lying around to boil up. That looks beautiful. Alright, let's make the quick version. For the quick version, I'm using sundubu, soft tofu. You can use soft tofu, as in like soft jjigae tofu, soft stew tofu. It works just as well, but I find that the consistency for this is amazing. So using super soft tofu gets a really beautiful, smooth texture. It's kind of hard to describe, it's quite delicious. I always add in peanut butter for this. If you skip the peanut butter, you'll find it's a little bit bland. The more traditional way just has some natural bean flavor to it, whereas this one, it just lacks that. So definitely add it. Mixing it up, and it gets a really milky consistency for this one. You could probably add a little bit less water if you want it to be quite thick, but I really don't like when you're using this style, I don't like the thick when it's thick. I prefer it to be quite milky. Like look at that, that's beautiful. Taste it. I haven't added any salt into this yet, so it's perfect without the salt. So that's just peanut butter, sesame seeds, and the tofu and water. That's pretty good. This tastes actually really nice. So surprisingly, it's quite good. But let's see how it actually tastes and look when I'm eating it at the time. So let's check it out.
Okay, let's eat and let's compare these two. This one is the traditional one, using the beans that have been cooked for a long time. This one uses soft tofu. So let's start with this bean one. Oh, that's very good. Let's see how the soft tofu one though. Oh, this is really milky. Oh wow, yeah, that's what it's all about. Check that out. You can see the difference there. That's much thicker. 안녕하세요 from Korea. Welcome to next matchup. Today we're cooking oi미역냉국. Miyeok Naengguk. Oimi역 Naengguk is oi, which is cucumber, miyeok, which is seaweed, naeng, which is cold, and guk, which is soup. So it's a cold cucumber soup with some seaweed in it. So the plan today is I filmed this. I'm at the top of this beautiful mountain here, right in South Korea, and I'm going to run back down the hill and enjoy a delicious cold bowl of that cucumber soup I just talked about. To cook this though, it's actually really easy. You basically take your ingredients, slice them up, put them in a bowl with some water and some ice. Watch the video, I'll show you how to make it, and I'll show you how delicious it looks. And you've just got back home after a long run. Alright, I better get down this hill because I'm hungry. See yas. Summer in Korea means cucumbers. They're cheap, abundant, and at their most delicious during the summer months. In addition, it is really hot in Korea during summer. So having some sort of seaweed and a cold dish like this can return a lot of those vitamins that you're going to lose from sweating so much. Just make sure when you prepare your dried seaweed, put a lot of water in there. It's going to suck up that water and you don't want to have not enough water. So let that soak as well for about 30 minutes, and that should make sure that all that delicious seaweed has sucked up that water. In this bowl I've prepared some water. We're going to use this as the base. Use these dashima pieces to add a little bit more flavor to our dish, especially since we're using seaweed as well. It's going to be perfect. Put that to the side and we'll come back to that later. Cucumbers in Korea are a little bit thorny. I mean, they're not real thorns, but you don't want to have them in your dish anyway. So use the back of the blade to give them a quick wipe down and get rid of that. Obviously, well, washing them beforehand, of course. I'm going to use 2 cucumbers for this, but it's up to you. Use more cucumbers or less cucumbers. It really is about how much you like cucumbers. You can just slice these up as well. I've just got this lovely grater or peeler that does it for me. So handy, especially for this dish. Make sure they're not too long. It's not spaghetti we're cooking here. Well, we're not even cooking it. It's not spaghetti we're preparing here. It's cucumber. So it should be sort of a little bit short, and of course not too short either. Add your salt to this and you're going to let it sit, and the water is going to come out of our cucumbers. We're sort of brining the cucumbers here, but you're also going to keep that water for later. All that salt and flavor we can still put and return into the dish later on. We just want to get some of it out of the cucumber and we'll use it later. I'm going to add a little bit of red pepper. This is optional. I find the red pepper has a slight kick to it even with the seeds removed, and it also adds a beautiful red color. So I tend to always add a little bit of red pepper when I'm creating this dish. To get the seeds out, just do like this. Put a bit of water, or do it under some running water if you want to make it a little easier, and remove the seeds. There we go, look, easy, getting rid of them. It'll still be a little bit spicy, so keep that in mind, but in the end of the day there's so little or so few of this red pepper in it that it really doesn't matter. You're not going to have this super spicy dish, especially with the seeds out. Slice them nice and thinly and they're ready to go. Now if you're an onion fan, add more onion. I'm going to use half an onion here and I'm just going to sort of slice it up thinly. Really is up to you. I'm not a big onion fan, but I do want a little bit in there. But you want some type of onion, so add that in. Look at my seaweed. Look, told you it's going to suck in all that water. Oh my, that's a lot of seaweed. So we're going to blanch this for 1 minute. Do not overcook this. Be very careful about that, it'll get mushy. And then run it under some cold water. That's the part I'm not showing there. Get it cool, because I'm touching with my hands. So if it was too hot, I wouldn't be able to do this. So I've run it under cold water and now squeeze out. Get rid of all of the water from in there as much as you can. And now we're going to slice it up. If you've got a little bit too much water in there when you do this, the water will dilute the sauce and your everything will be a bit bland. In addition, depending on what type of seaweed you're using, it can be in very long, thin strips, and you don't want that, you want small pieces. So I'm just gonna slice it into small pieces. Easy. That's ready to go though. At the start of the video, I said we're just gonna throw everything in a bowl. This is the fun part. But do take those out, those don't taste very nice. So get rid of the dashima, you don't need that. It's done its job. and you'll see there's sort of like this, I'm going to use the word slimy, but that's not the right word. It's got this beautiful texture of sort of flavor that's now in that water. Add in our seaweed, get all of it in there. Let no piece of seaweed go to waste. Here's the brine from my cucumber. Add that in too. And now for the flavor. You can adjust as you go. So I've given a hint of what I do based on how much water and ingredients, and I tend to get a really good flavor from this, but you should always taste it and sort of see how you feel. Depending on if you have too much seaweed or more cucumber or less water, the sort of sauces you're using, it's going to taste a little bit different. So give it a good mix. This is the fun part. Look at the beautiful color. And we're almost done, but like I said before, we've always got to taste it. So give it a quick taste, see if it needs anything, and if you have to add sort of more flavor, I recommend salt. If you add in more soy sauce at this stage, it might change the color of it, get a darker sauce, and you don't really want that. So try to use salt to season if you can, or adding some more vinegar if you want a little bit more flavor from that. Now remember, it's naengguk. Naeng means cold, so we need cucumber. Not cucumbers, we need ice. Throw the ice in there and give it a good mix when it's ready to serve, of course. You can actually keep this in the fridge for quite a while. I love being able to pull this out after a run or after a really hot day and then just add a few more cucumbers to the dish that I'm going to eat at the time. Let's see how this tastes.
Alright, just back from the run and look at this. Can't wait to eat it. Okay, let's eat this thing. That's so refreshing. Now, 안녕하세요 from Korea. Welcome to Next Matcha. My wife's Korean and I've lived in Korea for nearly half my life. Every week I cook a new Korean dish. This week it's Mul-naengmyeon. Korean summers are very hot and Mul-naengmyeon is a cold noodle dish. Naengmyeon means cold noodles. The mul part, well, mul means water, so it's a watery cold noodle dish. The alternate is Bibimguksu, and Bibimguksu you make a spicy sauce and you mix it with the noodles and there's less water. So Mul-naengmyeon, it's just more water. There's like a lot more broth that goes with it. In fact, I'm going to show you today how to make the broth from scratch so you can make your own broth at home. It's very easy, though it does take a little bit of time. Alright, let's begin. The first thing I'll show you how to make is our radish. We want to pickle the radish, and the best thing about this recipe is you can actually use this to make this radish. This is very similar to the radish that is served with chicken. When you get fried chicken in Korea, you get radish and it tastes like this and it's so good. So I highly recommend you try this out, even if it's just to make this radish. For the radish, we want to get our water boiling and then get everything sort of mixed in. The sugar, the vinegar, and the water, just like that. Now it's boiling, I can remove it from the heat. And then pour it over my thinly sliced pieces of radish. Now you can also do the radish into cubes, though that won't work for this dish. That's for other ways of eating it, but you could do it that way too.
Now let's get our meat ready. I'm using beef brisket here. You want to use a meat that doesn't have too much fat in it, and that when you slice it nice and thin, it's going to look really good. So throw that in the water and let it soak for an hour to remove the blood. So all that blood's going to come out of it, and we want to get rid of that. We don't want that going into the broth. So now my meat's basically ready, and I'll get rid of that water, of course. For my stock, there's a few ways you can do it. There's sort of a basic way, but I like this way where you just basically throw in some vegetables and some things you have lying around. The key one though for this is also adding a little bit of pear. It adds a really good flavor to it. This is Korean pear and it just goes great. Nice sweetness to it and helps sort of tenderize the meat a little bit as well. I've got some onion and then a bit of ginger. If you don't really like ginger, don't add a lot of this. I do recommend adding just a little bit though. The ginger gives your broth a little bit of extra sort of flavor to it. And if you don't add the ginger, it's sort of missing something that I feel like it should have. But obviously just don't add too much if you're not a big fan of ginger. We're ready to go. Put in some peppercorns and some garlic as well. Alright, the trick with this is we're going to be cooking it for a long time. This is going to sit, it's going to boil away, and then as it boils down, we're going to be left with the broth that we want, as well as the meat sort of getting nice and tender, because we're going to use that meat as a topping later. As you cook, remove the foam, get rid of that. It can be quite difficult to get the foam, so just do your best. The more foam you remove, the better. At this point, we're going to let it sit and just boil away and then come back to it. Look at that, perfect. Now I'm going to take the meat out and put that away for later. Like I said, we're going to use that as a topping. Then in a separate bowl, I'm just going to get rid of these other vegetables out. You can just run all of them through a strainer, but I'm actually going to add in the soy sauce and some other ingredients now, like a bit of sugar, some salt, and then give it a good mix while it's still just cooking away a little bit. That'll just help make sure it gets all boiled in. So I'm going to do that for about maybe 5 minutes. I don't want to lose any of that water or broth at this stage, so just enough that it's going to get incorporated in there, especially the sugar. You can always add less sugar as well. You don't need to add as much as I did. I do like a little bit of a sweeter broth, so if you like it less sweet, just take out the sugar, or add at least a little bit less sugar. And that's beautiful. Now once it's cooled, just like that, we can add in some vinegar. At this stage, obviously you can taste it. If you want, you can add a little bit more salt, more vinegar, just adjust it based on your sort of preferences. And of course, let's put this in the fridge now that it's cool as well, because this is going to be a cold noodle dish, which means our broth needs to be cold too. You can see the meat's nice and soft there, and I'm just slicing that up beautifully into thin little strips, and this is for our topping. Speaking of topping, we also need cucumber. Mul-naengmyeon and just Bibimguksu is almost always served with this wonderful cucumber. In summer, cucumbers are plentiful in Korea and very tasty. So they add a lot to the dish and are nice and crunchy on top. And Korean pear as well. If you don't have Korean pear, you don't need to add it. It's not a must-have. But in Korea, when you're having naengmyeon, there's nothing better than Korean pear on top. Look at the picture. Korean pear is the one at the bottom. Korean pear, meat, cucumber, and then radish. I'm basically following that picture and how I'm going to plate it. So these are the noodles that we want to use. I want to use the ones, I just use these like, this packet. But you can actually use a lot of different types of noodles if you want to do this dish. But these are sort of specific sort of naengmyeon noodles that you buy. And it's just easy to buy the packet because it's quite cheap. And then you get some broth that I can use for other things later. The reason I don't want to just use the broth that's provided is it's very bland and very tasteless. Making your own is much more satisfying, and the flavor is 1,000 times better. I'm going to cook these noodles for about 3 minutes, then you wash them and make sure that you're removing the starch, putting them under cold water. Remember, cold noodles, you always run them under the cold water and rub them to remove starch. My My radish is ready here, so I'm just going to put that in a bowl for later. I'm going to add some ice cubes to really make sure that this broth that I'm using is going to be cold. The colder, the better. Alright, the fun part. This is my favorite part of cooking, is when I put everything together. It's also the most nervous part. You never know what it's going to look like. Is it going to turn out okay? What's the best design? Luckily for me, I had that packet. So my mission today was to follow the picture on the packet and make it look like that. But really, it doesn't matter. You just throw everything on top if you're eating it at home. I like to imagine that if I was working at a restaurant, what I would do, you're not going to have too many toppings. But I think, as I say later in the video when I'm eating it, if you jump ahead, the best thing about cooking at home is you've got all these toppings to the side, just throw them all on. Get a lot of toppings, why not? And look at that, it's beautiful. At this stage in the cooking process, I'm getting very hungry, so I can't wait to eat this. So I'm going to eat it and I'll tell you what I think of it.
Ooh, look at that. That looks good. Can't wait to eat this, so let's get straight to it. The best thing about cooking for yourself is you don't have to go light on the toppings. So let's just add a bit more meat to this dish. And more cucumber. Let's mix it up. Ah. Yes. I love it when it's full of toppings like this. Okay, that's too much. That's too much spice. Next matchup, this is how you eat it. Bibimguksu is a cold noodle dish with a spicy sauce. Bibim means mix, so you take your noodles and you mix them with the spicy sauce. Bibim means mix. On a hot summer's day, you eat something spicy and all that sweating, that extra sweating, it makes you feel refreshed. It's very spicy. Does it work? It works for me. I love having something spicy on a very hot day. So maybe try it out where you're from. Now, I'll show you how to make it. Let's begin. It's very spicy though. This looks great. Red, spicy, it's hot outside, so I want to have something spicy to make me feel refreshed. Korean way. It's very spicy though. Also, I made it at home, which means I can add more toppings. So, we're adding more of everything. We want some salad. More salad. This is how you should eat it, right? It looks pretty, but this is so small. We need more. More of this. More catnip. More cucumber. Oh, I have a lot of cucumber here. Oh, perfect. We need to make it spicy. Even more spice. It's very spicy though. Oh, yes. Okay, that's too much. That's too much spice. Seaweed. Get it all. And sesame. Lots of sesame. Yes, this is how you eat it, okay? Doesn't look beautiful. Look at this. Ooh. This is how you're supposed to eat it, okay? They're not going to give it to you like this in the restaurant. They really should. That's how you should get it in the restaurant. But, well, that's how it works. You don't get it like that, but you do in my restaurant. Next matchup, this is how you eat it. You want another look? Yeah, more looking. Oh, yes. Next matchup, we eat like this. Mix it. Bibim. Remember, bibim means mix. Bibim means mix. You mix it. Put it all in there. Oh, this is good. Perfect. Noodles. Now that's not clumped, they're actually like well tangled. It's alright, don't worry about that. Let's get just a little noodle. We don't need that much noodle. Too much noodle. Okay, here we go. Oh. Yes. That's really good. That is 진짜 맛있어요. Korean, 맛있어 means delicious. This is 진짜 맛있어, which means very delicious. 이거 진짜 맛있어. The chef has done well today. It's me. I'm the chef. Hope you enjoyed the video. Remember, I cook a new Korean dish every week. Very messy sometimes. Come in next week, see what I cook. In addition, I also share a little bit about my life. So you can find out what I do outside the kitchen. It's a lot of, I suppose, exercise, running, because I eat a lot of this food. But luckily, this is also kind of healthy too. So it goes well together. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. Cook something delicious, eat something delicious, and 안녕히 계세요. See ya.